Happy Monday, and your Monday is definitely happier than Pete Hegseth's Monday. So let's go through the latest travails of the Secretary of Defense. Okay. You will remember about a month ago that there was a signal message chat, an encrypted message chat that Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor, added a journalist, a guy named Jeffrey Goldberg, to. Now, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, was also on that signal chat, and in the chat, he shared a bunch of details of an impending attack against Houthi rebels in Yemen. Okay? Now, at the time, lots of Defense Department experts and ex-Defense Department people said, I cannot believe he did that, but he didn't get fired. All right, well, it turns out that that wasn't the only signal chat where Hegseth was sharing that sort of information, because the New York Times reported on Sunday night that Hegseth had another signal group, and this included his wife, his brother, and his personal attorney, among others, with whom he shared many of those same operational details in advance of the attack in Yemen. Now, you might wonder, why would his wife, his brother, and his personal lawyer be privy to that? And that's a really good question, because the brother and the lawyer both work at the Pentagon. The wife does not. She's a former Fox News person. But none of them are in operational roles. Like, if that kind of information is given on a need-to-know basis, it's very hard to argue that they needed to know. The Pentagon put out a statement basically attacking the liberal media or something. It doesn't deal with the actual allegations. And that, in and of itself, would be a big problem if you're Pete Hegseth. But wait, there's more. So on Sunday night, just 2 hours after the New York Times reporting, a guy named John Ullyot, and I hope I'm saying his name right, who up until last Friday was the chief spokesperson at the Pentagon, came out with an op-ed in Politico where he basically said it's time for Pete Hegseth to go. So on Friday, 3 top Pentagon staffers got run out of there, ostensibly because they were responsible for leaking information to the media. Now, Ullyot in this op-ed says those people did not leak information to the Pentagon, to the media, and were sort of wrongly accused. But it's simply a function of his argument, the dissension and the chaos that is happening in the Defense Department. He says, I want to quote a few things. He says, in short, the building is in disarray under Hegseth's leadership. He also says this: yet even strong backers of the secretary, he's talking about Hegseth, like me, must admit the last month has been a full-blown meltdown at the Pentagon, and it's becoming a real problem for the administration. And finally, just in case you missed the message, the president deserves better than the current mishegoss at the Pentagon. Given his record of holding prior cabinet leaders accountable, many in the secretary's own inner circle will applaud quietly if Trump chooses to do the same in short order at the top of the Defense Department. Basically, this is the guy who on Friday was the chief Pentagon spokesperson, and on Sunday is calling for the President Trump to get rid of Pete Hegseth. It's pretty remarkable stuff. What does it all mean? Well, anyone who is familiar with me and my writing and talking knows that I've always said Hegseth was the guy who was probably on the thinnest ice in the cabinet. He was barely confirmed after a series of revelations about his personal life, and he has drawn consistently negative press for the president. Now, you have two sort of counterposing forces here. On the one hand, Donald Trump hates when people get negative attention for him, right? If he gets negative attention on himself, that's one thing. If other people get it for him, he hates that. On the other hand, Donald Trump doesn't like to be told what to do. And he certainly doesn't like to be told what to do by the media, or what he perceives to be the media. So these two forces are sort of opposing one another, and it's not clear, at least to me, where Donald Trump lands on this. But I will say, this is Pete Hegseth's worst day as Secretary of Defense. This week could well be his worst week as Secretary of Defense. We are 3 months into the Trump administration, almost exactly now. No cabinet official has left yet. If there's going to be one, I would guess it's Pete Hegseth, and I could see circumstances this week where and maybe into next week where Hegseth is out. I think another negative story could do it. Maybe this is enough. Maybe it's not, given what I said about Trump not liking to be dictated what to do. But man, a very bad day to be Pete Hegseth and his current status as the head of our military looks to be, I would say, on shaky ground, if not that he's already sort of on the way out. Any other president, he'd be on the way out. This is Donald Trump, who is not any other president. All right, everyone, take care. And make sure if you don't subscribe to hit that button. It's free. It's easy. It'll be fun. I promise.